Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I am here to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. So let me formally introduce myself. I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to get their status in the United States. And yes, that means that even if you're out of status, there may be a way for you to obtain permanent residence in the United States. So I cover topics like this on my nightly shows, and I will be here throughout the holidays. You will see me making my usual appearance. I'm usually here on YouTube and TikTok at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at 9:30, I am on Instagram and Facebook. I am the immigration attorney on YouTube and TikTok as well as Instagram. So you can hop on from one channel on YouTube to Instagram to TikTok if you would like. If you don't see me here, you'll see me on Instagram. So go ahead, follow me, like and subscribe so you get important immigration updates throughout the day and on a daily basis, because I do post daily on most occasions. Tonight, I am going to be talking about that process called adjustment of status. I am going to describe that process, give you an idea of what that involves. And then if you need personal legal advice, you can always go to the link in my bio. It's stlawoffice.com. I'm going to put the link in the comments on YouTube so you're able to see it. But go to that website, you'll be able to see different ways that you're able to get in touch with the firm to schedule your own personal legal consultation to see if you qualify for this process called adjustment of status. Adjustment of status is the process of applying for permanent residence while you are in the United States. That means you don't leave, you get to stay here and get permanent residence. You get to, if it's through an employer, you get to stay here while you adjust status to permanent residence. And if it's through a family member, you get to stay with your family members while you go through the adjustment of status process. And in some cases, you're able to petition on your own and obtain permanent residence that way. And in that case, you get to stay here. So no matter how you qualify, if you qualify for adjustment of status, you would be able to stay in the United States, get a work permit, even get a travel document, and then obtain permanent residence. Now, let me remind you that I'm here to answer your U.S. immigration related questions. So don't hesitate to put your questions in the comments. It does not have to be related to the topic that I'm talking about. It can be anything that is immigration related. I prioritize your questions, so just put those questions in the comments and I will take pause to answer your questions. Now let's start with the adjustment of status process. What is that? Now I'm not going to get into all the details about who qualifies. I cover that extensively. So if you want to find out who qualifies to stay in the United States and apply for permanent residence, be sure to subscribe. Make sure you follow me. So if you're on TikTok, make sure you follow me. If you are on YouTube, subscribe so that you can look through my channel and see those videos on who qualifies. I have done multiple videos on those. But what I want to talk about tonight is what this process looks like. After I determine that you can stay in the United States and apply for permanent residence, the next step is to actually get started. I get started very quickly with my clients. As soon as I am hired by my clients, we get to work. And the first is to gather the sufficient evidence. The evidence is going to be based on how you qualify. So for example, if we're doing marriage-based, we're going to focus on that evidence. If you're doing VAWA, which is based on mistreatment by certain U.S. or resident qualifying relatives, then we focus on the evidence related to that. But there are particular forms that are also associated with this process. So usually there is a petition, and then there's the adjustment of status application, and then there's the work permit application, the travel document application. In some cases, there's the affidavit of support if you're being sponsored by a relative or by an employer who is also a relative. And then there may be a waiver of the affidavit of support if you don't have to submit income information to determine whether you meet income requirements to apply. So those in a nutshell are the forms that are required for an adjustment of status process. I'm going to take pause to answer a question that I see on TikTok. Now, I want to remind you that I am also on YouTube. So if you would like to ask your immigration questions on YouTube, go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I will go ahead and answer your questions as they come in. So I'm monitoring the questions on both ends. All right, so I'm a legal permanent resident and sponsor my wife February 2019 and haven't heard back anything as of yet, any advice. So you will have to make sure you check with the USCIS to make sure that your mail is coming, that they have the correct address, and that they have actually accepted your application. The way that you know whether they've accepted your application is if you have received a receipt notice. Now keep in mind that, hi there, Christine, Sukram, season's greeting, happy holidays. Thank you for that. And happy holidays to everyone who is here. Merry Christmas for those of you who celebrate Christmas. I hope you are looking forward to great festivities with your family. So you got the receipt notice already. So you are not alone in this. This process is backed up, right? Almost all of these types of processes are backed up. And so it's taking a very long time to get decisions on this. It's taking over a year. And as you can see, it's been over a year. But usually what happens with my clients is if you have, I check on the case processing times for certain service centers. If you're outside of the range of time that they usually take, then that is when I submit a case inquiry to determine why it's taking so long and request that they move it along because your case is outside of the case processing times. So that may be something that you would want to look into. And if you would want to get representation or further advice on your case, you can always go to the link in my bio and it will take you to the website. The website, there are 3 different ways to get in touch. Right now, there are after hours receptionists who are available to take your information, and then they're going to pass your information on to a scheduling coordinator on the next business day, which is going to be Monday, because we're out for the holidays. But if you really don't want to wait and you want to get scheduled for your consultation right away, you can do that on your own by going to the link in my bio. And if you go to the contact page, you'll be able to book your own appointment on the website. So you have different ways to get in touch with us to schedule that consultation. But other than that, you want to just make sure that you check on your case, make sure that there is nothing that they have the right address, and that it's just pending still, and that there's nothing that you have to do on your end. Thank you, the Adams. Thanks so much for your love. I appreciate it. Now keep putting those questions in the comments because these are the exact types of questions that I'm here to answer. I'm here talking about the adjustment of status process. For those of you who don't know, you're welcome, Javed. For those of you who don't know, the adjustment of status process is that process where you stay in the United States and you apply for permanent residence in the United States without the need to leave. Even if you qualify for adjustment of status, you're able to obtain a work permit while you wait. You can get this within months. Right now, it's taking anywhere from 4 months to 11 months. And then you also are able to obtain a work permit if you do need to travel. That would be what you need to be able to travel outside of the United States, to come back into the United States. Now, I just talked about the forms that are required, right? So there's always an underlying petition just based on how you qualify. There are different ways that you could qualify. For adjustment of status, you could qualify through an employer. You can qualify through a family member. You can qualify through VAWA. You could qualify as a T visa holder or a U visa holder. If you've been the victim of trafficking and you've received the T status or a T visa, or you've received the U visa as a victim of crime, and you have had it for 3 years, or even as an asylum holder, if you have had asylum for the last year. So those are examples. And even if you have received approval of your diversity lottery, so you've been selected and you're being processed, you're currently here on legal status in the United States, that could be a process where you could qualify for adjustment of status as well. So at the point that we've determined that you qualify, we submit specific forms. Those forms are going to be based on the underlying reason that you qualify or the way that you qualify. But what is definitely required is the petition, the adjustment of status application, the work permit, the travel document, should you need that, as well as the affidavit of support or a waiver of the affidavit of support. For example, if you're applying with VAWA, and income is not necessarily required, but they do want you to make sure you sign off on a waiver of that. Once we have prepared all the documentation, but remember, documentation, filling out blank forms is not enough. You do still have to prove how you qualify for this benefit. So that's what I help my clients to work on. Do not underestimate this process. Make sure that you get legal representation through your process so that you do it correctly. Because if not, it turns into a big mess. Once we work on your application, once we work on your supporting documentation, we submit your documentation. After you've submitted the documentation, first is the receipt notice. The receipt notice, the term is basically a way of saying we've received your application and it is processing. So it sets the whole process into motion. You know that you're on a roll, it's been received, it's been accepted, and it's going forward. Then usually with adjustment of status, the next is that you are scheduled for a biometrics appointment. And in some cases, they are reusing old biometrics appointments. After you have done your biometrics, which is for biometrics is the fingerprinting appointment. So it's a very, very quick, simple appointment. It's not an interview. You're not going to be asked about the substance of your case. You're just going to sign in and the longest time that you're going to have to wait is maybe possibly the wait time to get that fingerprint. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You check in, you wait for it to be called. When you're called, they take your fingerprint, they take your photo, they take your signature, and then you're done. After that, the background check is done, you get your work permit. Your work permit really depends on so how long it takes to get your background check done, and also the service center that is processing your application. Once that has been completed, then you go on to, you get your work permit, you get your travel document, you get your social security number. Those usually give you some relief and some reassurance while you wait for your process to get to the interview, because usually the interview is next. After you've received your interview notice, that's when, for example, you're going to go in and you're going to have to be prepared for your interview. So I'm going to take pause to look at some questions that have come in on TikTok. And keep in mind that I'm also on YouTube. So feel free to put your questions in the comments. I will address your questions on YouTube and Instagram at the same time. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments. So let's see. So Trinidad and Tobago, what do you need? So the Adams, let's see. I'm just looking to see because I think I just got part of your question. So I just got part of your question, the Adams. And so can you retype your question? As long as I'm here, go ahead and put your question again in the comments so I can understand the full context of your question. So after your call for the interview, I usually prep my clients for the interview. You know, the interview is going to differ just based on whether it is it based on marriage? If it's based on marriage, we're going to focus on your marriage. It's very important that if you're applying for a marriage-based application, let me tell you the most important part. And no, it's not the interview. Usually the officer has even already made a decision by your interview. And so where it is very, very important is the preparation of your application. That sets the tone for the rest of your application. If you submit a deficient application, it's going to definitely reflect on the officer's final decision during the interview. Usually, if you submit a deficient application, you're going to have to work 10 times harder in the interview. You're probably going to have a difficult interview just because if you submit an application, for example, I've met individuals in consultations who have told me that they just quickly filed the application thinking they could submit the evidence later. And when they got to the interview, it turned into a real mess because they didn't submit the right evidence. And because of that, the officer assumed that this was not bona fide. So they had a tough interview. And then usually at the point that they are before me in a consultation, that means that things have gone wrong. And so it's very important to get legal representation, get legal advice at the start before you even apply so that you are prepared, that you understand what you need to do. So hi, are 16-year-olds required to do the police report? Yes. So if you're 16, you need to get that done. I would like to know how to start the process for the fiancé visa. So you'll have to make sure you qualify. To qualify for the fiancé visa, you'll have to have a US citizen fiancé. You'll have to show that through declarations, through evidence that you have a real engagement and you do intend to get married when you come to the United States, and that you have met within the most recent 2 years before you have applied. So those, in a nutshell, are the basic requirements. Now, there is an exemption for those who have not met in person, but that's based on exceptional circumstances, or if there is a religious or cultural prohibition on you meeting your fiance before you get married. And that would require a waiver to get permission to not have to meet the 2-year foreign residency requirement. You're welcome, Patty Cake. Okay, so I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. What do I need to apply for a visa? So you will need to show that you have strong ties to your home country. When I say strong ties, I mean what is in your country that is going to keep you there, keep you going back to your country. A job, school, your children, strong family ties, a business. And that's what the immigration officers want to see. They want to be convinced that you are going to return to your country after a temporary visit to the United States. If I have a green card from marriage and get a job at Walmart, can they sign it and get citizenship? So no, your employer cannot sign off on your employer has nothing to do with your citizenship. Once you obtain your permanent resident, You have to have your permanent residence for a specific amount of time. So if you get your permanent residence through marriage, then if your spouse is a US citizen, then you could apply within 2 years, 3 years, 2 years and 9 months to be precise. But you have to show that you will be married to your US citizen spouse for 3 years and you've had your permanent residence for 3 years. If you can't depend on the marriage, sometimes marriages break up before, then you can show, as long as you can show that you've had your permanent residence for 5 years, you have good moral character, you're 18 or over, you've lived in your state for the past 90 days, you've maintained continuous residence and physical presence in the United States, then you would qualify for US citizenship. Damaris, you're welcome. Hi there, Marcos. Nice to see you. All right. So I'm pretty much finishing up on what the adjustment of status process looks like. So I talked about very quickly who qualifies, right? Very briefly, I mentioned who may qualify, but I didn't elaborate. I have so many other videos where I have elaborated. For those of you on TikTok, just know that I do post my lives here on YouTube and I also post it on Instagram. The name on both YouTube and Instagram are the immigration attorneys, same as TikTok. So if you've joined me later or you really want to get more information about that, you can always go to Instagram to rewatch those lives or YouTube. Also, keep in mind that adjustment of status may also be a way for someone who does not have their status to fix their status. So there are ways through the adjustment of status process to fix your status, for example, through VAWA. If you are the immediate relative of a US citizen. So those are so this process is very important, not just for people who currently have legal status, also for certain people who don't have status in the United States and they're figuring out how to fix it. So can you send me the website link? The Adams, what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and type it in. So I'm going to type it in the comments. And then the Adams, what you can do is if you go to the link in my profile, so you go to my profile, you'll be able to go directly to the website without having to memorize it or to copy and paste it. But it's stlawoffice.com. When you go there, the staff is out, but the phone number is 24/7. So you can call the number. My number is all over my videos, or you can fill out a contact form and that will prompt a scheduling coordinator to get in touch. You can also go to the Contact Us page and you can schedule your own appointment. So there are ways to schedule your own appointment. So go to the immigration attorney. I'm the immigration attorney in the comments. Let's see. So when application is submitted with marriage certificate as only evidence, would they always request more evidence? Absolutely, Leah Petro. I do have a video on that actually, that raises red flags. It raises red flags for marriage fraud. If you only submit your marriage certificate, it's not enough. I can tell you that right now. Now, keep in mind that this is not personal legal advice. This is general information. So if you need personal representation, go ahead, schedule the consultation and let's talk. Now, staff is out, scheduling coordinators are out, but the after hours receptionists are still available to take your information in a phone call and then pass it on to the scheduling coordinators. We will be back on Monday to actually schedule, or you can schedule your own consultations by going to the website and clicking on the Contact Us button on the menu, and that's going to open up you can schedule your own appointment. But I can tell you right now, submitting your marriage certificate is not enough. And that's what I was saying before. If you submit just a marriage certificate with maybe even some photographs, that's going to raise a red flag for the officer, and they're going to give you a tough time at the interview because they're going to believe that this is marriage fraud, right? And so you're going to be on their radar for marriage fraud. So you want to make sure that you do this right. Evidence, I often say that a good way to present your application is to be a good storyteller. Tell the story of your relationship through your evidence. And I help my clients with that. So you can definitely schedule a consultation. We will talk and make sure that your application is sufficient. This week I got my USA passport. I passed a citizenship exam. Congratulations, Marcos. That gives me a lot of pleasure. Thanks so much. And that has made my day. All right, YouTube, I don't see any questions, but keep in mind that I will be back most nights, if not every night, to take your immigration questions. So you can mark your calendars. I'm usually here around 9 p.m. to take your questions and then also to give you good information. I am going to be done for the night tonight, but I will be here making appearances every night. I'm aiming to be here every night. And so you can always look out for me at 9 p.m. Eastern time and put your questions in the comments, because I'm here to give you good information and also to go ahead and answer your questions. Now, keep in mind, the information I'm giving you here is not personal legal advice, it's general information. So if you want personal legal advice, which I highly recommend, you want representation, go to the link in my bio. It's going to take you to the website where you can go ahead and schedule your consultation. On YouTube, I'm going to put my website in the comments so you can see it when you look in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, you'll be able to see the website. Go to the website and you can see how you can schedule. Now we are out, the team is out, except for after hours receptionists. They will be answering the phones and taking your information. And then a scheduling coordinator will answer your questions on Monday. We'll be back on Monday. So let's see. I'm just gonna answer a few more questions. Hi, I'm Guyanese TikTokers. I'm waiting on decision in USCIS. Can I still travel domestic? I don't know you personally, I don't know your circumstances, but generally travel within the United States is not an issue. Now I have to start for my wife, how long it takes to bring my wife for USA citizen. So Marcos, it's taking about 18 to 24 months. I'm glad that you've gotten very helpful information. I urge you to get personal legal advice. I can definitely help you with that process. To make sure you go through with a smooth process. So, but it's taking about 18 to 24 months, and believe it or not, that's a faster process. All right, so I'm going over to Instagram. You are free to join me on Instagram. This does not have to be the end of our conversation. I am the immigration attorney on Instagram. So hop on over there. If you're on TikTok, you can go to the link in my profile. And it's gonna take you to, there's an Instagram button there. It'll take you directly there. I'm gonna be there in a minute to continue to answer questions, to go over this topic, and also to just answer the questions that come in. Marcos, you're welcome. I hope to speak with you in a consultation and help you with your wife coming to the US. So thanks so much. I will be here throughout the holiday to see you, to spend time with you, and to answer your questions. So look out for me, mark the time. It's 9 p.m. Eastern time every night. So thanks everyone for your questions. I appreciate it. I hope to see you in a minute on Instagram. I'm the immigration attorney on Instagram. If not, I hope to see you tomorrow, or I'll hope to speak with you in a consultation sometime next week or in the new year.